Welcome back, everyone. This is Mr. Brain, your friendly neighborhood gaming dad, here with another Era of Conquest breakdown video. And today I want to go over one of my favorite commanders in the game so far because of how he's used, and I will go into detail about that later. We're going to break this down in our usual method. We're going to go through his stats, his initial skill, what teams you expect to find him on, the skills you want to use to boost those teams, and we're also going to touch a little bit on his advance, and I'll explain why later. First of all, his stats. If you look here, he is 100% a strength-based commander. You should be focusing on physical stats for the entirety of his build. There are reasons to boost his agility so that you can have his skills activate before others, and once you get into his skill and additional skills to pair with him, you will see why. He's not very good with tactical, and he has some really low defense. So in order to keep him protected, I would advise making sure that you have someone that can heal or taunt to kind of distract or defer damage to somebody else. Let's get into his primary skill. For the first 4 rounds, there is a 100% chance at level 20 of gaining batter. That means for the first 4 rounds, he's dealing an additional normal attack every round and decreases all damage dealt, which decreases all damage dealt and healing effect by 25%. But with the additional attack, that 75% turns into 150% really easily. And at multiple stacks of batter, normal attacks can be stacked, but the damage and healing decrease don't. So you can deal 2, 3, 4 normal attacks, but the damage dealt and healing effect decrease is capped at 25%. It doesn't get any lower. Because of this command alone, he is 99% of the time an assault commander. I love him on assault teams because normal attacks are how you activate assault skills. Assault skill is a skill that has a probability to trigger after a hero has performed their normal attack. If you stack normal attacks, that means that probability percentage of an assault skill going off has a chance of activating multiple times per turn. I want you to keep that in mind when we go through his other skills. Personally, I currently have him on an assault team with Harold, Saladin, and Alexander the Great. As we discussed before, his defense is extremely low. So having someone like Alex with a solid defense and an ability to taunt enemies, especially for the first 4 rounds when he's getting off his most damage, are crucial, because that will give you the edge in combat to out damage your opponents without risking Saladin dying in the process. I personally do not like having Saladin as my main commander because of his low defense, because if they do find a way to get around taunt, I don't want them accidentally killing Saladin in the process. Now, Harold may not have great defense either, but it is still higher than Saladin's. And there are other commanders that you can pair with Saladin to work really well. I actually have a secondary assault team full of commanders that you could pair with Saladin to work really well. Scipio, solid damage dealing and an additional silence based off of assaults. You have Ragnar, who has solid damage, and if you can taunt enemies away from him, he will consistently be able to deal that additional 114% damage with each of his assault skills. Toussaint Louverture is a great assault buffer. He doesn't do any taunt or healing, but he does have great ways of increasing strength for your other commanders, as well as being a good placeholder for some of the better skills that require you to that either grant batter or in my case, grant both Swift and Batter. Now, on to the skills that boost Saladin or his team. Like I said, I don't like having him as my primary commander because I don't want him to die. But one skill that works really well with him is Urban's Bombard. After a normal attack, increases your commander's strength by 65 for 2 rounds, stacking up to 2 times. Then launches a physical attack to the target again. This is a solid physical damage attack on its own, but this additional 65 strength, stacking twice, if you can get it to stack twice, on your commander's strength is huge. One of the easiest ways to win a fight against your enemy is to kill the commander. So if you can have your commander dealing the most damage as much damage as possible, and the enemy doesn't have a taunter or a solid healer, Herald in this case, or whoever you have in this commander spot, will be able to deal damage directly to the enemy commander, killing them quickly, and you don't even have to worry about killing off the other 2 vice commanders. If the commander dies, the other 2 don't matter. So that's why I like him holding Urban's Bombard, because for the first 4 rounds, he has a solid stack of batter by himself. The other skill I like to have with him is Gaulish Charge, and this is entirely to deal solid damage himself. If the enemy is running a taunter, having someone who can cast this skill effectively on a single target that's drawing all of the damage in can kill them more effectively and prevent that taunter from lasting long in combat. It's 476. If they're under batter, it's another 125, making it stronger than Urban's Bombard. Has Forbidden Healing for 1 round, and with the amount of batter we're going to put on Saladin, that Forbidden Healing is going to happen almost every round. For my commander, I choose a way to stack batter on himself as well as have a small healing effect. I personally love the unconditional surrender healing effect because it basically steals enemy troops and absorbs them into your own. Wing to Sorrow March is another solid physical damage attack that grants a stack of immunity, so that every 3 times it's activated, it gives a stack of immunity, effectively preventing the enemy's control teams from being able to disarm you effectively, because it lasts for 2 rounds. And again, we want to stack batter, so this 3 times will happen quite a bit. Now, for Alexander the Great, I don't need him to deal damage, so I want to stack batter, or another status ailment, Swift. Swift is an amazing buff that allows your team to move first. Completely takes agility out of the equation, so for the first 3 rounds, my commander and a random vice commander have Swift with a 100% chance of gaining batter. So for 3 rounds, my commander gets batter for free, and then one of them gets the other one, and it alternates between the 2. It's pretty much a 50-50. Savage Roar, while this does double up on Swift, which is a little bit unnecessary, we have an additional 15% damage on assault skills, which is all my other commanders are doing. All assaults, except for the command one. What are some other skills you can use? Lance Duel is one that the game will throw at you because of this silence. If you can get that silence it wants you to throw silence into assault teams. Plus, being able to hit 2 enemy units for 202% damage, it's very nice. Can't really complain about that one. Persian Scythe Chariot heals inflicts forbidden healing for 2 rounds, and does a solid amount of damage. Even the healing in this case is affected by strength, so you can put this on a high strength character and use it as a self heal, and it will work fairly well. It's not the best heal in the world, but if you don't have another form of healing, this can help. Longbow Invasion is a great skill to have. The only reason I don't have it on my other ones is because it is specifically for Vice Commanders, and my Vice Commander skills are taken up. After a normal attack, 1 physical attack on all enemy units, and a 50% chance of launching another physical attack on all enemy units. That's everyone that's hitting them. Everyone. This works really well in group combats where your unit is attacking a lot of people at once. The damage gets spread out really well. A couple of other skills that you can use for Alexander the Great in this case: having the additional purification and a chance of giving them batter, and a stack of immunity. This is great for counter control teams and still buffing the damage of your vice commander, your other vice commander, and your commander fairly well. Just know that it is random, and because it's an active skill, you're praying to God that it goes off as often as it's supposed to. At level 20, it is 70%, so it's definitely not impossible, but considering how often we can get assault skills to go off, just be wary that it's not a 100% skill. Place barricades is kind of one the game throws at you in order to reduce damage, but I'm very much a min-maxer, and the only reason I have this in place right now is because I don't have much better. Going through the skill list for other assault skills, Capture the King is a solid one if you don't have another option for your commander, because it focuses on dealing damage to the commander. Because if you have this on your commander unit, you can deal 762% damage rate. That's huge. Just know that if the enemy is taunting, this 460 doesn't happen, because no one should be running a taunt on their commander. Blade Assault and 3-sided attack are okay. Onslaught, solid if you have batter, and you should have batter. The damage rate on each of these is, again, okay. It's the probability that I don't like on this one. All in all, most of the assault skills that you have access to are going to be really great for Saladin and his team. So keep that in mind. And like I said, I would go through the advance thing. If you don't already know, the advance is for when you're awakening your commanders and turning their stars red. Every 2 times you do it, you get points to put into this. The main reason I want to come in here and tell you about this is because you want to max this one out first. I know I've got a couple more levels to get there, but the reason I say it is during battle on the first round, there's a 40% chance of gaining batter. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if this goes off, that batter combined with his own and the 100% chance of gaining this means that for the first round, he's hitting people 4 times. That is 4 chances to get this skill off, 4 chances to get this skill off, and if this goes off first, which is why I have his speed slightly higher here, you've got 2 stacks of strength boosting Urban Bombard before your commander even takes their turn. One more thing I want to note about Saladin. I said 99% of the time he is an assault commander. One other very niche role, and you may have caught on to it from some of the other skills that we looked at, you can run him as a pseudo control commander. If you run Lance Duel with the chance of silencing a target, and I believe there was one other one. There was one other one in the collection that gave a control skill. You could run him as sort of a pseudo control commander, trying to get those normal attacks to increase the chance of getting assault skills to go off, which increases the chances of getting the control abilities of those assault skills to go off. Just as a hypothetical, I believe I have it on Scipio. We already said that we could get up to 4 instances of batter onto Saladin. That's 4 chances of getting that 35% assault skill to go off, which has an additional 50% chance of silencing the target for 1 round, while still dealing okay damage. Most control commanders can't deal a lot of damage, so this gives up a little bit of control for a little bit more damage. So, something to think about there. But before I ramble on too much more, that's Saladin in a nutshell. He's a very solid assault commander with a lot of options for activating different assault skills that you really want activated. And I hope this information helps you in setting up your teams in the future. But with that, this is Mr. Brain, your friendly neighborhood gaming dad, signing off.